So time to take a look at the new shinies from Faith and Damnation then. A new Admech miniature and codex, a battle line tank for the sisters, and what looks like an entire range of new squig mounted orcs. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're going over the 40k bits from Faith and Damnation, the preview that came out yesterday. It's been really nice to have not one but three very nice reveals for Warhammer 40k, and it's a bit of a shake-up on the usual formula, as for once none of them is a Space Marine. Really nice to see some other factions getting some good love. In this video we'll just take a quick look at the reveals, talking about Admech first, then the sisters, then we'll finish with orcs. So for the Admech we finally have the Skitarii command miniature that we saw previewed absolutely ages ago. To be honest, the previews back there didn't relieve all that much to the imagination. You could tell it was basically a Skitarii commander, and here we have him revealed in full. The Skitarii marshal's armed with a command rod and apparently a revolver Serpentia pistol, and he's got a nice techie looking servo skull hovering over his left shoulder. Really nice looking miniature, pretty much exactly what I'd expect of an elite Skitarii, just that little bit more ornate, and he has quite a commanding and merciless looking face, I think. No real indication as to exactly what sort of buff he's going to give his Skitarii friends yet. It'll remain to be seen whether he's literally just for leading Skitarii units such as Rangers and Vanguard, or whether he's going to be for Admech in general, like the Servitors. The article mentions that he'll certainly make Rangers shoot a bit straighter. It could be anything from positive modifiers to hit, your standard reroll 1s to wound, or perhaps even more unusual special rules. Nice to have another lightly quite points cheap HQ option as well, certainly makes it easier to build detachments. That's not all for the Admech though, as we also have the news of a new codex, which presumably is going to be the next one released after Drukhari, though as far as I can tell they haven't actually given us a date for its release yet, whether it will indeed be in April, or whether it might be a bit later due to all the chaos going on in the world right now. In any case, I think it's really quite a pretty looking codex. That disturbing spidery tech priest really does symbolise the Admech really well, and I quite like the choice of colours that they've gone for more than some of the other codex that they've released recently. The one for the Space Marine and Drukhari cover artwork I just wasn't quite as much of a fan of. We can broadly know what we're expecting with a new codex these days. A full reimagining of all of the rules, including stat lines and stratagems. They specifically called out that quite a lot of their guns are going to be amped up in power, which is certainly fairly standard for new releases these days. This will also be their chance to include the engine war units that currently haven't been in the Admech decks, including things like the Scorpius tanks and the Tech Priest Manipulus. There'll be some new Crusade rules, and I think that the Admech Codex is really one that could do with a bit of a rewrite with some things. You can just tell that quite a lot of the options are quite old, some very underwhelming warlord traits and relics, and plenty of stratagems that just don't really make much sense. I just hope that they manage to keep Admech as varied as they are right now. At the moment, with all their points tweaks over the edition, I think they seem to have made most of their units quite playable and quite interesting in different builds. I hope that they don't change that with the new Codex. Next up we come to the Sisters of Battle, and we have this new Castigator tank. I'm afraid my prediction earlier this week was incorrect. I thought we were looking at a repressor with the silhouette, and while you could indeed tell that it was a Rhino chassis, I'm afraid there's no dozer blades or pillboxes here. I'm actually a little bit surprised at just how similar this tank is to the Predator tank. Games Workshop seem to usually be going the way of making things as divergent as possible, though at first glance this certainly just looks like a Space Marine Predator tank with all sorts of Sisters of Battle bling glued all over it. I do kind of wonder if this thing's going to have a bit of role overlap with the Exorcist as a dedicated tank that mounts long-range firepower. I think both of them are going to somewhat fill the same role. Wargear wise, we've got either a battle cannon or a twin autocannon of some sort on the turret, 3 heavy bolters, 2 sponsor mounted and 1 hull mounted, and also that pintle mounted storm bolter, which I suspect will be optional. They specifically called out in the preview that there won't be options to swap out those heavy bolters for heavy flamers on the sponsons. Kind of an unusual choice for Sisters of Battle, but they seem with this one that they're trying to go with a bit of a different role for the tank. Almost every unit in the Sisters army mounts either melters or flamers, so it's not really a terrible deal to have another oddball like the Exorcist, which completely eschews them. I feel like this one's going to be quite points cost sensitive as to how good it is. Whenever the new Sisters dex drops, it's unlikely to have any synergy with other units due to the core keyword, so I hope they don't overvalue the heavy bolters too much. Between this and the Exorcist though, you could potentially have a quite well-rounded Sisters tank spearhead, with the Exorcist providing dedicated anti-armour, and these ones perhaps being a bit more generalist, being able to deal with some medium infantry as well. They have told us that there's yet more Sisters models incoming as well. We've already seen this, that Paragon Warsuit, and the Sisters Palatine that's in the Piety and Pain box set. It'll be interesting to see what else they come up with, and it seems pretty much certain that a new Sisters Codex is on the cards very soon. It'd be kind of unusual for Games Workshop to release quite so much content and not bung it in a new codex. Finally, and perhaps the biggest news of the preview, we have a really big Ork release on the way. They seem to be expanding the Ork line in a quite different direction, tapping into the feral orcs or snakebiters type theme a bit more, and they're releasing a line of orcs known as Beast Snaggas. These guys care very little for technology, reading and using squigs for all sorts of battlefield roles, and they're dedicated to hunting down the largest prey, whether that's great monsters or demons, or the mightiest war machines of mankind. We've only seen the one here, which is apparently a squig hogboy, a pretty epic looking orc squig cavalry, and a bit of a throwback to boar boys, which you used to be able to field I believe in 3rd edition. It looks like a bunch of these will have grots hangers on. This one seems to have some sort of chain axe type thing in his hand. In one of the preview videos it looked like one of the grots had some dynamite as well, so I'm sure there's going to be some sort of bombing option. Again, it's really looking like Orcs and Sisters are going to be the next couple of codexes after Admech. We've already seen those previews on Orcs on the way, we now know there's loads more, and seeing as the latest campaign is set in Charadon, it's pretty much guaranteed that they're going to have some content there. The reason that we know that there's quite such a big range coming is that they basically said that there were a few more hints in the video. We've basically got some nice tribal cave art type paintings of a whole bunch of orc units here. They showed off some of those squig hog boys and what looked like some standard squigs, but the rest of these are quite interesting as well. We seem to have not one but 2 different bosses. The one in the top right could potentially be a new war boss in mega armor. That's certainly one that orc players have been dying for a re-release of ever since Games Workshop took it away because there was basically no model. It's an absolutely iconic orc unit in the lore. War bosses are well known to have the best and fanciest armor, so often have mega armor. This one looks like he's got an absolutely enormous chainsaw axe of some sort, as well as a cool little grot gunner on the top left hand shoulder. We also do seem to have a Beast Snagga boss as well. The one on the bottom right is about the biggest chopper that you've ever seen, some sort of claw thing, and then some sort of squig mounted gun contraption on his top left hand shoulder. We seem to have some sort of squig doctor type unit on the bottom left. He seems to have some sort of a cyborg claw in the left hand, a boss pole, and then some sort of IV line squigs with tubes attached next to it. No idea what that's about. And then finally, in the bottom centre, we've got some sort of enormous squig centerpiece model. Looks like it's pulled by some sort of mini squigoth. It's got at least 4 or 5 orcs manning the guns. Looks like it could potentially be a heavy support choice for orcs, or maybe even something as big as a Lord of War. I can't tell exactly how everything fits together from that image, but I'm really looking forward to the reveal of that model. It looks absolutely elaborate and frankly enormous. Overall, I think it's just really nice to see the orcs get such a major release, though for all we know there could be even more besides this. It's very cool to see the range expanded, and not just re-releases of model kits that were going a bit out of date. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Looking forward to a new Admech Codex? What do you think of the Sisters tank? And are you ready to have your face bitten off by a squig? If there's anything I've missed, please let me know as well. I'll post any corrections in a pinned comment. If you have enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'll be trying to catch up with the other releases of the weekend as soon as I can. Hopefully we'll be talking some Death Guard with the Terminus Est Assault Force later, and perhaps the Skitarii Codex out on Monday. I'll certainly be keeping up with Games Workshop's releases as they come out in the future. Finally, if you have been enjoying the channel and would like to help support, I'd just like to mention that I do have a Patreon page, which you can find down in the video description. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, such as seeing certain kits early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next for the channel, and automatic entry to the monthly prize giveaways with the chance to win some really big model kits. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support the channel, then the link is down in the video description below. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.